Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really digging into this crucial memo you sent over.
Yeah,
It's all about healthcare policy, specifically Medicaid DSH payments, and this new legislation, the Big Beautiful Bill.
that's right.
Our goal here is simple. Arm you with the key insights you need, like right now, for immediate action.
And the absolute bottom line, the most critical thing you need to know is this. Those big federal funding cuts to disproportionate share hospital payments, DSH payments, they're not gone.
Not gone.
No. The Big Beautiful Bill just delays them. They're still scheduled to hit starting in 2026. It creates a serious financial cliff, a fiscal cliff, really, for safety net hospitals like yours.
Okay.
And compounding that risk. The bill pushes for more state flexibility. Now, that sounds okay, but it might come with pretty weak federal oversight.
Which opens the door for, what, funds getting moved around?
Exactly. Misdirection of funds. It's a real concern.
Okay, let's back up slightly just to make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly are these DSH payments? Why are they so important?
Right. So DSH payments are federal money, vital funds that go to hospitals serving a really high number of uninsured folks and Medicaid patients.
The safety net places.
Precisely. Facilities often running on incredibly thin margins. You know, Medicaid usually pays less than private insurance, sometimes much less. And uninsured patients, often they just can't pay the bills at all. So these DSH payments are basically what keeps the lights on, keeps them financially stable enough to serve the community.
Now, I thought the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, was meant to deal with this. Weren't DSH payments supposed to phase out?
That was the initial idea, yes. The ACA did include cuts to DSH payments. The thinking was, well, with expanded insurance coverage, fewer people would be uninsured, so you wouldn't need as much DSH funding.
Makes sense on paper.
But here's the twist. Quite a few states chose not to expand Medicaid under the ACA. So in those states, uninsured rates stayed pretty high, and that meant DSH payments remained absolutely essential, critically important.
And this is where things can get tricky, politically speaking. We saw that situation in Florida, didn't we? That Medicaid issue there seems relevant.
Very relevant. It's a stark example. You had a major Medicaid contractor, Centene, settling an overbilling case.
Right, I remember this.
And part of that settlement involved sending, $10 million to the Hope Florida Foundation. That foundation was led by the state's first lady.
Okay.
And then reports surfaced that those funds were routed to political action committees, passees, allied with the governor's campaign.
Wow. Okay, so healthcare dollars potentially ending up in politics?
It definitely sparked bipartisan concern, yeah. It really highlighted how healthcare funds can be politicized, potentially diverted, if the guardrails aren't strong enough.
Which brings us back to the Big Beautiful Bill and this state flexibility. What's the specific worry there for a hospital CEO like you?
The key issue, the real danger, is the combination. You've got the delayed DSH cuts looming, plus this new approach to state flexibility in the Big Beautiful Bill.
So the bill delays the cuts.
Yeah.
But only for a short time.
Exactly. It explicitly delays the DSH reductions just for 2024 and 2025. That's it.
And then?
Then, bam, starting fiscal year 2026, $8 billion per year in cuts come right back, and they apply indiscriminately. Doesn't matter if your state still has high uninsured rates.
$8 billion a year. That's huge. And the flexibility part, how does that worsen things?
Well, the BBB promotes more state-level control over Medicaid, which, again, isn't inherently bad. But if it doesn't come with equally strong accountability, you get what some people are calling a laundering loophole. States could have more freedom to steer healthcare funds, maybe DSH funds, maybe other Medicaid money towards private contracts or specific nonprofits or these vague initiatives.
Without strict federal checks and balances like we saw in Florida.
Precisely. The direct significance for you, it's urgent. Imagine a rural trauma center, maybe one like yours. It could go from getting, say, $12 million a year in DSH funds.
Vital money.
Absolutely vital. To getting zero. Overnight, even if they're still seeing thousands of uninsured patients walk through their doors.
That's devastating. So given this landscape, this risk, what strategies should you be putting in place now?
Okay, 3 key recommendations. First, request internal audits.
Okay.
Look closely at your hospital's own Medicaid and DSH allocations. Document everything. This shows transparency, first off, and it protects you against potential liability down the road.
And there's evidence this matters.
Definitely. That Florida situation obviously drew federal attention, and there was a 2022 OIG report, Office of Inspector General, that found hospitals in states with less regulation were, I think it was 2.7 times more likely to have financial discrepancies linked to Medicaid payments. So, yeah, Audits matter.
Okay, internal audits. What's number 2?
Second, implement a clear, strict policy prohibiting financial relationships with any third-party entities involved in political campaigning or ballot initiatives.
Draw a very clear line.
A very clear line. Remember that Florida Medicaid scandal? It's now reportedly under federal investigation for potential violations of charity laws. You want zero connection, zero perception of impropriety.
Makes sense. Avoid that whole mess. And the third recommendation.
Ensure your leadership team is fully aware. Schedule regular, probably annual training sessions. Focus on compliance fraud risks, especially around Medicaid and DSH.
And keep it updated with legislative changes, like this big, beautiful bill.
Absolutely. The HHS OIG, they often note that most healthcare fraud cases involving DSH or Medicaid actually start with internal whistleblowers. So awareness across your leadership is really your first line of defense.
Okay, so summarizing this. Internal audits for transparency, no political financial ties, and keep leadership trained and aware. The goal is pretty clear, right? Protect your hospital from that fiscal cliff and from, well, getting caught up in issues stemming from looser oversight.
Exactly. You know, the ACA took a gamble. Betting states would expand coverage, some didn't. Now this big, beautiful bill kind of kicks the can down the road on the cuts, but it doesn't fix the underlying problem and potentially adds this new risk with flexibility.
So it really leaves hospital leaders like you facing a tough question.
It does. The question really is, how are you going to navigate this? This landscape is getting more complex, more high risk. How do you ensure your hospital stays financially sound and keeps serving the community, especially when your patients could end up paying the price for political gamesmanship?